Okay, so we'll continue. So we discussed about Indian moral philosophers. So we started off with Indian moral philosophers yesterday, and then we have discussed about the first part, Indian religious philosophies, where we have discussed about Hinduism and Buddhism, Jainism, and briefly I've touched upon Islam and Christianity. Now the Sikhism, Zoroastrianism, or Parsi religion, that if you want you can refer. I don't think that you will get any questions from that. So this is what we have done from the religious philosophies, and then we have started off with discussing some of the. So that's about the religious philosophies, and then we have started off discussing with the Indian thinkers. Mainly we discussed about Mahatma Gandhi, okay, and we have discussed about his concepts, various concepts we have discussed, and I've told you can use not only in ethics, you can use Mahatma Gandhi in all your papers, okay. So there is a huge potential. Even we have discussed something related to history, so any essays you can start with his quotes. Just 1 minute. Yeah, so this is what we have discussed yesterday, Indian moral philosophers and the religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Islam, Christianity, and then we have discussed about Mahatma Gandhi. So any doubts from this topic? So we will discuss about the other thinkers, like I'll discuss about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and we will also briefly talk about Rabindranath Tagore, okay. So B.R. Ambedkar. Now what you will write under Ambedkar? So basically, voice of the voiceless. Okay, so he is mainly stressing on the upliftment of the downtrodden, especially the Dalits. So he have experienced so much of problems. Okay, so he wanted to uplift the downtrodden section, and he come up with the idea of protective discrimination. Okay, so affirmative action. You need to write about these words in your answer. When you propose something, affirmative action or protective discrimination. Okay, so affirmative action for the weaker section, right? So, and that was incorporated in the constitution also. So socio-economic justice based upon equity. Socio-economic justice. So we have discussed about different dimensions of justice, different types of justice we have discussed. So here, socio-economic justice based on the principle of equity. Okay. Now I have also told you before that equals should be treated equally and unequals to be treated unequally. So if two are not equal, then the downtrodden should get some advantage, right? That is what you mean by affirmative action or discrimination, which is, protective discrimination. So unequals to be treated unequally, equals to be treated equally. So that is one of the most important ethical principle. Okay, so unequal should not be treated equally. So he was instrumental in drafting the Indian Constitution, and he incorporated the above principles in the Constitution. You can see this affirmative action, socio-economic justice, etc. So Article 17, what is Article 17? What is the importance of this? Abolition of untouchability. Okay, and right to life, liberty, etc. That is also there in the Article 21. So when you talk about Article 23, it's talking about bonded labor. So abolition of bonded labor. So in all these, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was very instrumental. So that's the reason why I've told you he is the voice of voiceless. And when it comes to Dalits, especially the untouchables, Gandhi and Ambedkar had different opinion. Mahatma Gandhi is of the opinion that the caste should be there, caste should continue, and you can go with the tolerance approach, tolerance attitude, that you can tell the upper caste that they should not make any problems with the Dalits, etc. That kind of approach is what Mahatma Gandhi followed. But Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is of the opinion that caste should be abolished, and that's why entire community shifted to Buddhism. Okay, so in terms of caste, in terms of Dalits or untouchables, Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar had entirely different opinion. In fact, Ambedkar is of the opinion that abolition of caste system. But Mahatma Gandhi is not of the opinion of abolition of caste system. Caste should continue because it's a part of Hindu system. And if you remember yesterday, I've told you most of the leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. this Bal Gangadhar Tilak, etc. They were politically very modern. Politically very modern, but when it comes to religion, they were very orthodox. Okay, but B.R. Ambedkar, altogether a package. He was a very modern person. He was able to understand the problem himself. He faced the problem. Okay, so he fought for the socio-economic justice for the downtrodden through affirmative action, through protective discrimination, and which was, he made sure that it was incorporated in the constitution also. So anything more you want to add, you can add here. Reservation for SC ST in parliament, state legislative assembly, no reservation for OBC. Okay, so those things you will be studying under polity. Next is Rabindranath Tagore. When we discuss about Tagore, almost similar is the case with Swami Vivekananda also. Okay, some very modern thinkers. So Swami Vivekananda, or first we will discuss about Swami Vivekananda. Both are of the same. See, in their opinion, the Eastern societies has gone too far in terms of spirituality. That's a problem. And if you talk about the Western society, they have gone too far for materialism. So what is required? It should be in between. See, on one side, when you're going for materialism, you are making money and all those things is there, but happiness is not there. And on the other side, when you're going too much after spirituality, then also people will suffer. So what you need is a mean between this. And we discussed about this mean concept before also. Where? When we discussed about Aristotle, we have discussed about the concept of golden mean. And in fact, golden mean is the solution for most of the ethical problems. Okay, so wherever you come up with any dilemma or any problems, you can talk about the concept of golden mean, which was given by Aristotle. So Rabindranath Tagore, these two were actually cosmopolitan scholars. Okay, so their concept is not limited to the national boundaries. In fact, when we discuss about Swami Vivekananda, he is firmly believing in karma. For him, it doesn't matter. He was in favor of separate electorate for depressed classes, and he that will be part of history. There is no need to discuss about that here, and you can discuss about this Pune Pact and all, right? So, but that is not, we don't want to discuss that under this. That is entirely different. That is history topic. Pune Pact, okay, and against that, because Dr. B.R. Ambedkar demanded separate electorate for the Dalits, and the communal award was there, right? And after that, Mahatma Gandhi went for the hunger strike, and then there was a compromise between Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi. That's what Pune Pact. But again, later in 1935, also this depressed class was given separate electorate. So that is part of your history that we don't want to discuss here. Okay. So Swami Vivekananda, he is a person who was firmly believing in karma. Yesterday when we discussed about Mahatma Gandhi also, I have told you Gandhi is also not only principles, he is also practicing the same. Like I've told you, ahimsa or truth, non-violence, etc. Everybody is talking about this. Everybody can preach, but rarely few people can practice it. But Mahatma Gandhi is one who practiced it and he implemented it, and he fought against his enemy by using these concepts, and he won also. Okay, and the same is the context when it comes to Swami Vivekananda. So he firmly believed in karma. 1897 he founded Ramakrishna Mission. And he firmly believed in social service. So the motto of Ramakrishna Mission itself, for one's own salvation and for the welfare of the world. And he believed in social service, and for him it hardly mattered whether the person believed in one God or multiple God. During that time when we discuss about socio-religious reform movements of 19th century, we will be talking about mainly what? Raja Ram Mohan Roy, we'll be talking about Jyotirao Phule, we'll be talking about Arya Samaj, we'll be talking about Brahmo Samaj, Prarthana Samaj, etc. So here we are discussing about you believe in one God, multiple God, single God, idol worship, any other worship, etc. So for Vivekananda, it doesn't matter it hardly matter whether a person believe in one God or multiple God. Okay, whether you worship idol or do not worship at all. If a person is hungry, what you need to do? You need to give him food rather than, preaching to him what you mean by God or what is God, whether single God or idol worship, etc. So if a person is hungry, you have to give food. That's what you mean by social service. If a person is sick, you have to give him medicine rather than teaching him God is one or more. If a person is illiterate, you have to teach him, you have to train him. Okay? So rather than talking about philosophy. So the point is, he was firmly believing in karma. He practiced what he preached, and social service was the motto or objective of Ramakrishna mission, and is there in many countries. All those things is not that important for us. When it comes to Rabindranath Tagore, he believed in universal brotherhood. It is beyond nationalism, and in fact Rabindranath Tagore is actually against nationalism. I'll come to that. And he believed in humanity, so he bet on humanity, and he is always against nationalism. Okay, so Vasudeva Kudumbagam means universal brotherhood. That's what I mean by cosmopolitanism. Cosmopolitanism is like universal brotherhood. Okay, world citizenship. It's not, nationalism related concept. Universal brotherhood. So you can just write the principle of Vasudeva Kudumbagam. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it correctly. Vasudeva Kudumbagam. So here also both Swami Vivekananda and Rabindranath Tagore both were of the opinion that, the Indian society or the Eastern society in general have gone too far for spirituality. So they lack something, that material aspect. On the other hand, if you talk about the Western society, it gone far in terms of material, reality. So they suffer with some other problem. They are also not happy. So what you need is the mean, the golden mean that we discussed about Aristotle. Okay. So again, the principles of tolerance is very common in all. Respect amongst different culture and religion. So tolerance we discussed yesterday when we discussed about Mahatma Gandhi also we discussed. So you respect others' culture, other religion, etc. When he discussed about West is developed with respect to science and rationality, scientific temper, rationality. On the other hand, when we talk about Eastern society has developed more on spiritual lines. So what is required is to share the experience. Okay, mutual exchange. Both should be mutually beneficial and learn from each other rather than fighting for superiority or supremacy. So he was against the ideas or the concepts of imperialism, colonialism. He promoted humanity. Okay, he is of the opinion that exchange of culture, exchange of knowledge, etc. is required so that it will be mutually beneficial. It will be mutual stimulus also. Okay, and he promoted education. Okay, why? The reason for promoting education is to make a secular and modern society, which is based on the concept of tolerance. Tolerance means you should be in a position to respect other culture also. Okay, now views on nationalism. That is also very important. I told you he was against nationalism, and there is a very famous statement: I will never allow the triumph of nationalism over humanity as long as I live. Okay, I will never allow the victory or the triumph of nationalism. I'll tell you the difference between nationalism and patriotism. Nationalism over humanity as long as I live, I am alive. Okay, so he was not much on nationalism, he was on cosmopolitanism. That's what I've told you. Universal brotherhood. Exchange of culture is required between East and West. There is no need to go after supremacy or superiority. So what is the difference between patriotism and nationalism? Can anyone tell that? Which one is preferred? Which one is better? Okay, now if you see what is common in both is love for nation. It is there in both. Okay, where both patriotism and nationalism is based on love for the nation. Then what makes it different? What makes it different is, now here this is, when it comes to nationalism, this is unconditional support to the nation. Blind faith on the nation. Whatever the nation or whatever the state is doing, you will not question it. No questioning at all. It's a blind love. Blind faith or love or unconditional support. Now this can promote what? This colonialism, imperialism, etc. This can promote the question of superiority of your state or your nation over the other. Okay, but here when it comes to patriotism, you will question the policies or you will question the state. If something bad is happening, you will raise your voice. Okay, so if does something wrong, if the state or the nation is doing something wrong, you will question that. So I can say here it is blind faith or blind love. What about this? It is a rational love for nation. Okay, now if you remember when we discussed about growth, development, what is the difference between growth and inclusive growth? There is a huge difference between growth and inclusive growth, right? And in inclusive growth, growth is also part of that. When we talk about growth, it's only GDP, increase in national income, increase in GDP. That's what in growth. But when it comes to inclusive growth, participation, contribution of all sections are involved, right? That's what we talk about inclusive growth. But in inclusive growth, growth is there. Same as the concept about patriotism. I can say this is inclusive nationalism. Okay, so nationalism is there. That means love towards nation is there, but at the same time, in a rational manner, rational way, we should benefit. So here you will support imperialism, you will support colonialism, and you will even support animosity with other nations because you will be, in a position to express your superiority over the other. Okay, so it will promote animosity with other nations, superiority. Okay, it can promote hatred also. Okay, so, and this can lead to fascism. Extreme form of this will lead to fascism, like German race was superior. Okay, so that is what Hitler concept. Any doubts here in this concept? This was asked before, patriotism. The question was something like, what do you mean by patriotism? How you express in day-to-day life. So that was the question. Direct question, you need to know the exact concept. It is, you need to explain with this difference also, nationalism versus patriotism. Okay, so nation, when we talk about it, is a feeling of oneness. It is like a community based feeling of a community. There will be common criteria. That common criteria will be language, it could be anything, it could be region. But in India, diversity is there. So that is actually a threat to nationalism, but we will have to discuss about that as a different topic. See, in simple language, if I need to tell you, if you can contribute positively to the nation, that itself is patriotism. So now you can think of enough examples from your side. Okay, any positive contribution that you can do from your side, that is patriotism only. Yes, Arpita, tell me.
Sir, can you explain inclusive nationalism once more? I'm not able to understand.
No, inclusive nationalism means I've extended the concept of nationalism to explain patriotism. So here somewhat more is there. It is not just blind love, it is a rational love. That's why I've told you this is inclusive nationalism. Now even when we discuss about the European countries, before it was based on race, different race were there. So nationalism was based on different race, right? German race, French race, etc. So in India also there are different problems. In India, it's like we are a multi-nation state. Nation means what? So I'll explain this concept. When we discuss about nation, nation is based on some common feeling, some commonality, some common identity. Okay. So it can be what? It can be language, it can be any identity, it can be common culture, it can be any identity. Race is not applicable in India. So if this is the case, India is actually a multi-nation state because multiple identities are there, okay, which all are united under a state. So actually nationalism, it can be difficult to explain in the context of India, but love towards a country, that's how you can explain nationalism and patriotism. Typical understanding of nation is based on identity. This identity can be on the basis of any marker. It can be language, it can be culture, it can be religion also, but we are not discussing about religion, then that will go to different dimension. Okay, so it can be based on different aspects. So India is actually a multi-nation state. Diversity is there, but still unity is there, and for that various reasons are there. Constitution is a reason. Okay, so secularism, all these are reasons for that. In India also, when you discuss about, there is Hindu nationalism concept is there, based on the culture, like V.D. Savarkar has given the concept of Hindu nationalism. Before independence, mainly there was a division on the basis of religion. Before independence, right from 1857 onwards, this division was there, and from 1905 onwards, this division is getting more important, especially during Swadeshi movement, when some of the leaders started using some Hindu religious symbols, and then after Muslim League, this division is more there. Okay, so all these were threat to nationalism in India. When we discuss about nationalism, these are threat to nationalism. What is a threat to nationalism? The diversity is the threat to nationalism. Not only religion, it can be region also. There is a lot of regional issues are going on, so that is also a threat to nationalism. Okay, so post-independent India, we adopted the constitution, secular in nature. Religion-based divisions are so rare, less. Now caste may be there, language based is there. Okay, these are diversities. So you need to talk about this context. When the question is asked, you need to talk about these are the differences, and how to solve these problem. All these need to be discussed in your answer. So this you might have prepared answer from your childhood onwards, right? This unity in diversity concept. Yeah, any doubt here? This nationalism and patriotism. So this was a question which was asked, what do you mean by patriotism? So I hope you can write what is that. How can you express this in day-to-day life? That you need to think about it, and we can discuss in the next session. So that's about this important moral philosophies and moral thinkers that we need to discuss. And anything more is there, if anything more is required, that you can read. So much of thinkers are given in the chronicle, so that you can briefly go through that. I'll be moving towards the next chapter, next topic, that is probity in governance. So when we discuss about probity, what is probity? Probity is actually honesty. Probity is integrity. So probity in governance means honesty or integrity in governance, or we can say uprightness. Okay, so it is like strict adherence to the code of ethics. Strictly following the code of ethics, whatever is the procedure established by the law, rule of law. Okay, constitutionalism, constitution, uprightness, honesty, integrity. Now we need to talk about the areas or the problems, or where the probity can be compromised, or what are the problems in governance. All these we need to discuss now. So honesty, integrity. Okay, so now when we discuss about probity, it is not only about avoiding corruption. It's not only about avoiding corruption. Obviously this is part of it, avoiding corruption or dishonest conduct. You also need to follow the public service values like this uprightness, honesty, integrity, accountability, transparency, okay, impartiality. All these values we have discussed, this has to be followed. So it's not only uncorrupt, it is like incorruptible. Okay, so at no point of time there will be a tendency for going like corruption, that situation. Okay, so basically when we talk about probity in governance, it is this uprightness or the honesty, integrity part. So it signifies, or it shows the ethical and moral governance, or probity in governance is the good governance. We can understand this as the good governance. Okay, now when we discuss about government is actually the institutional mechanism, which is a static part. So when we discuss about governance, this is the process. There is a process or mechanism. This is the dynamic part, right? So when we discuss about malgovernance or misgovernance, that is exactly opposite to probity. So what is the problem that you face in probity in governance, or what are the problems or what are the challenges in good governance? Answer is known to you mostly, but still the challenges or the problem with good governance is what you call as misgovernance or malgovernance. Misgovernance or malgovernance, right? Or bad governance. What are the reasons for this? You write exact opposite of what I've discussed. Corrupt government, okay, no transparency, no accountability, partiality, nepotism. You got me? So what all things I've discussed as the good, code of ethics, you write exactly the opposite in case of this. So no transparency, okay, no accountability. Accountability means what? Answerability. How can you ensure accountability and all? Social audit, etc. What about transparency? We have RTI legislations, etc. We will discuss about this later. That's actually a separate topic. In fact, RTI, social audit, etc. are different topics in itself. Citizens Charter, I'll discuss that also. Misuse of power. Okay, misuse of power. Then misappropriation of public money. Misappropriation of public money. Corruption, we have discussed already. Crony capitalism, like favoring the capitalist, okay, corporates. And then nepotism, okay, partiality, nepotism, or favoritism based on favoritism or biased government, all can be coming under this. Lack of transparency we have discussed, lack of accountability we have discussed. Okay, so politicization of bureaucracy. This is one of the biggest challenge. The bureaucrats are not able to implement any of its decisions now because of the excessive politicization of bureaucracy. And also criminalization of politics. Both are almost interconnected, correlated. Criminalization of politics. Red tapeism. Red tapeism. Okay. And when we discussed about the issues with respect to bureaucracy, or when we discussed about aptitude, etc., I've told you, apathetic attitude, right? This is also a problem. Okay, then status quoist attitude. Status quoist attitude. So these are the problems. So these points has to be there. This is exactly opposite of what we have discussed before. And how to solve it? You have discussed about that already, attitudinal change. That is one thing. Otherwise, through legislation like RTI, social audit, citizens charter, all these I am going to discuss now. Okay. Now there is a theory, social contract theory. When we discuss about power, we have to discuss about this also. What is the social contract theory? There was a question in 2015 mains related to power. Okay. So the social contract theory, this theory actually came in the period of Age of Enlightenment or the Renaissance period. It was originated in the writings of John Locke, Hobbes and Rousseau. And in the middle of 20th century by John Rawls also talking about this. Okay, now what is social contract theory? See, the individual, when we talk about individual, we all actually consented and we surrender some of our freedom. We are ready to surrender the freedom. Okay, why? For the smooth functioning of the society. So we are surrendering the freedom and submit to the authority of the ruler. So we have given some authority to the ruler and we submit ourselves to the authority and we are surrendering the freedom, or this authority can be magistrate or anything, in exchange of protection of the remaining rights. So we are surrendering few of our rights. If none of them are surrendering any of the rights, the society will be in chaos and society will be in problems. All the times issues will be there in the society. So we are ready to surrender. This is what, as per the social contract theory, we are surrendering our freedom, some of the freedom, to the authority, and that authority will exercise the power. Why? What is the expectation? That authority will protect us with respect to the rest of the freedom. That is what social contract theory. Now there are some other theories also, like constant sum game and variable sum game theories. So this was actually given by Max Weber. In fact, Weber's idea of bureaucracy was asked in one of the ethics paper. This is Weber's concept of power. Constant sum game means what? It is zero sum concept. Okay, like somebody A possessing the power, A dash, the other person won't possess the power. Okay, so that is what constant sum game. Variable sum game is actually in the society, everybody collectively possess the power. Everybody collectively possess the power, and everybody will appoint somebody to exercise the power. But this person who was appointed by everybody will exercise the power in such a way that it will be beneficial for the entire society. So you can understand whether the society is powerful or not, okay, by seeing the development of the society. So the person who is exercising the power will, thrive or strive for the development of the society, because the members of the society selected or elected that person to exercise the power for the collective benefit of the society. So it is expected that the society will become developed, and the more developed the society will be, more powerful is the society. So you can compare with India and US. Which society is more developed? US. So which society is more powerful? US society. That's the variable sum game. So it is actually collective power. It is for the collective benefit of society, but one person will, or some few people will exercise the power for the benefit of all. Okay, so this is something which you can remember, these two theories, constant sum and variable sum. Variable sum is very important. This is something which you can remember, and this is also very important. It can be asked in the essay also. This was asked in essay in 2015 paper. Okay, any doubts here? Okay, so we will move towards the good governance, the philosophical underpinnings of good governance. So philosophy related to the good governance. We are discussing about idea of good governance which were given by intellectuals. Even if you remember, yesterday we have discussed about Mahatma Gandhi. His concept of Swarajya we have discussed, right? So decentralization, Panchayat Raj institutions, etc. we have discussed. So first one, Kautilya. So Kautilya in his Arthashastra, he basically talk about good governance. And you can just note down the statement: in the happiness of subject lies the happiness of the king. That means if the people are happy, king should be happy, king will be happy. If the people are happy, then only the king will be happy. Subject means the public. In the happiness of the subject lies the happiness of the king, comma, in the welfare of the subject lies the welfare of the king. So that statement itself is talking about good governance. What do you mean by good governance? That's enough. You don't want anything more. Okay. So any question related to good governance, you can simply start with the statement also. Kautilya in his Arthashastra is talking about this. In the happiness of the subject lies the happiness of the king, and in the welfare of the subject lies the welfare of the king. Arthashastra is not only talking about good governance or governance, it also talk about the issue of corruption. And Kautilya extensively discussed the causes of corruption and the ill effects of corruption and the measures to tackle corruption. So Kautilya. Second one, Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, so when we discuss about Mahatma Gandhi, we already had the discussion yesterday, but what I have discussed over there, he mainly talked about Swarajya. What is that? Self-rule. Okay, so Gandhi favored grassroots democracy rather than a centralized administration. So grassroots democracy means he promoted what? Panchayat Raj institution as a mechanism to achieve the goals of Swaraj or goals of the self-rule. So it involves political, socio-economic, cultural, moral, all components. Gandhi also linked the concept of Swaraj with the empowerment of the people. So he gave the idea of Gram Sabha. Okay, so he favored the people participation through Gram Sabha. So people participation in decision making. So this is an idea of participative democracy that we are going to discuss about later as part of probity in governance. One of the dimension of probity in governance is actually participatory democracy. This participatory democracy, it can be direct democracy, it can be representative democracy. I'll come across that. So just now understand people's role in decision making through Gram Sabha. That is actually participative democracy. In decision making power is with the public. So if that is done, this will give the real empowerment. This is the real empowerment of the citizen. And his ideas are reflected in the which article? Article 40 of DPSP. So post-independence, India started this Panchayati Raj institution, and where it was first experimented, 1958, Nagaur, Rajasthan, and then 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment institutionalized grassroots democracy. So 73rd, 74th constitutional amendment and all those technical aspects you need to read from polity. That's not part of our discussion. So here I am just discussing about Mahatma Gandhi's idea about Swaraj or self-rule. Okay, so he is promoting grassroots democracy through Panchayati Raj, empower the public through Gram Sabha, make the people participation, so the concept of participatory democracy, the decision making power is with the people, so that there will be a real empowerment. And his ideas are reflected in the DPSP. Not only this, some other Gandhian principles are there when it comes to DPSP. What about Aristotle? Next is Aristotle. So he classified different forms of government, or he mainly talk about two categories of government. One is legitimate government. Okay, the other is perverted government, the opposite of this. So two categories of government based on the interest of the ruling class, or in other words, in whose interest the government is being carried out. So legitimate government means whose interest it will be. It will be on the public interest, right? So legitimate government is the one where the ruling class work in the larger interest of the masses or the public. Okay, so that means the ruled ones. So here work in the interest of the subject, like the one which we have discussed about the Kautilya's concept of good governance. So that is what legitimate government, that name itself will tell you. This is opposite. So here whose interest? Here the ruled class interest. So here the ruled class interest, here the ruling class interest, the king's interest will be favored. So here ruling class interest will be promoted or taken care. Okay. Now there are 8 principles of good governance which is given by World Bank, that also we will mention here, and all these in detail I'll discuss in the next session. What you can do is you can make a octagon, 8 principles, so we can discuss that in octagon. Okay, so first one, rule of law, people participation, then consensus orientation, and then equity. Equity means inclusiveness, effective and efficient. Okay, responsive, and then the other two very easy, accountability, transparency. I'll take this all these formally in the coming session. All these I'll explain, but most of the things you already know. People participation we have briefly mentioned, transparency we have discussed. Through RTI you can ensure that. Accountability is answerability, you can ensure through social audit. Okay, and then rule of law means nobody is above the law, even everybody have to work within the law. That's what the constitution, you have to follow the constitution, constitutionalism. The rulers also have to follow the constitution, and this can be ensured through strict and independent judiciary. Okay, so these 8 principles in detail we will discuss in the coming session. Any doubts here?